Hi everyone, welcome to Silver Fox Equine Academy. Today I'll be talking to you about first-time horse ownership. I'm Megan McNeil and I'm one of the instructors here at Silver Fox Equine. So purchasing your first horse, how much does it cost? So horses and ponies can range from anywhere from free to millions of dollars. The price of the horse is going to be dependent on how much training and showing experience the horse has. The average budget for the first-time horse buyer is going to be anywhere between $5,000 and $20,000. Most often it's recommended that you do a pre-purchase exam on your horse. And what this is the vet will come and look at the horse that you're interested in buying. They'll do an overall health check and they will do a soundness exam. And if the vet thinks that it's a good idea to take some x-rays, they will go ahead and do that. And then depending on what the vet finds, you can discuss it with the current owner of the horse, as well as at this point, it's a good idea to, as we'll talk to your coach and get their opinion on any issues that are found. It is an extra cost in buying the horse, but it's definitely a great idea considering you're spending a pretty good lump sum of money on this horse. What do first-time horse buyers typically look for? Usually, a person would like a horse around 6 years old or older. You're looking for a horse that's well broke, sound, and has no vices. The size of the horse is very dependent on you as a rider. So typically people are going to look for a horse that's around 14.3 hands to about 16.1. Again, very dependent on your comfort level as a rider. And as I mentioned before, involving your coach in the process is a really good idea. Your coach knows you best as a rider, as well as they probably have lots of experience buying horses. So definitely involving your coach is going to be super helpful. So boarding your horse. Unless you have property at home where you can take your horse, you're going to need to look for a place to keep your horse. So what to look for in a boarding barn? You're going to be looking for a safe facility, a place that has knowledgeable coaches and staff, quality hay and feeding program, and appropriate turnout arrangements for your horse. So the cost of board is going to vary, and it's going to depend on the type of boarding program that your horse is in. So whether your horse is indoor board or outdoor board, if your lessons are included in that package, if the cost of your horse's grain is included in your board. Most oftentimes, boarding barns will have a feed program already in place for your horse, but then if there's going to be your horse requires any additional supplements or any additives into their feed, that will most often be a cost that you will have as an owner. So let's talk about the price of boarding. So in the Mono Orangeville area, the average cost of indoor board is between $600 and $1,500 a month, and it can go up as well. And again, these are just ranges that are found in this area. And I'll just quickly go over what indoor board consists of for your horse. So typically an indoor board arrangement is your horse will go out during the day and then come in at nighttime. And the length of turnout and everything is really dependent, again, on the boarding barn. In the Mono Orangeville area, the cost for outdoor board is around $300 to $550 a month. And what to expect with outdoor board is your horse gets to live outside 24/7. They will have access most often to a run-in shelter, and they'll have hay and water 24/7. And some outdoor board programs, you may have to, if you want your horse to have grain, you may have to be the one that goes to feed your horse their grain. Other times, the feeding of the grain may be included with your outdoor board. All just depends on what facility. Okay, so horse cost. So there are a few different costs that come along with owning a horse. One of the costs is farrier. So the farrier will need to come and visit your horse approximately every 6 weeks. And the cost will be dependent on if your horse is barefoot or if they wear shoes. So if your horse is barefoot, the cost on average for a trim is about $40. And if your horse wears shoes, the cost becomes a little bit higher, approximately in around $110. There's also corrective shoeing that your farrier can do. And if your horse requires corrective shoeing, the cost will be a little bit higher. Corrective shoeing is great because you can fix so many different types of problems with your horse's hooves, as well as just joint issues in general. And if your horse has horseshoes on and they lose a shoe in the mud or in the paddock, this often happens right before a horse show, then that's going to be an additional cost for you to have your farrier come and put the shoe back on. Okay, another horse ownership cost is vet care. So routine visits such as vaccinations, your average cost there is about $100 to $200 plus the call fee. And the call fee is the fee that you'll pay to have the vet come to the farm. Another cost was going to be your dental work for your horse. Usually every year, it's good to have your horse's teeth checked. So the vet may float your horse's teeth or file down any sharp edges on the horse's teeth. And the approximate cost there is anywhere between $150 to $300. Again, dependent on what kind of work your horse needs done. And dental work is super important to keep on top of, just because if you notice your horse starting to lose weight, it may be because something in their mouth is bothering them. Or when you go to ride your horse, if they're kind of really fussy in the bridle, acting out of character, it might be a good idea to just have their teeth checked. Insurance for your horse, it's really important that you do your research into the insurance companies that are going to work for you. Most often there is mortality coverage and coverage for surgeries that your horse may incur. Tack for your new horse. If you've been riding for lots of years, you may already own tack such as saddle or bridle. But it's really important that you have a good quality saddle and that the saddle is properly fitted to your horse. And as well, it's fitted to you. So your approximate cost for a good quality saddle is anywhere between $1,000 and $7,000. And again, the cost can be greater just depending what brand, what kind of saddle you're looking for. You can also have a saddle fitter come out to the farm. And this is a great idea if you have a saddle already and you buy a horse, or even just when you buy a saddle for your new horse. Really a good idea to have a saddle fitter come out and just have a look to make sure that the saddle is properly fitted for the horse. Because if your saddle's not fitted correctly, then you can get into all sorts of issues with the horse's back and even just showing discomfort while they're being ridden. A bridle and bit for your horse. So typical cost or starting point cost for a bridle is about $60, and it's going to be dependent on the quality of leather that you have on your bridle. And some people have a bridle that they just use when they're riding at home. And then sometimes they'll have another bridle that they use when they're showing. And then a proper fitting bit for your horse and the correct type of bit for your horse is super important. So starting cost there is approximately around $50. And again, really important that the bit is correct for your horse, or else you can the horse will experience some discomfort when you're riding. And sometimes your horse will require different bits depending on the disciplines that you're doing. Some people will need a different bit when they're jumping their horse versus when they're doing flat or dressage work. A girth for your horse. So cost of girth is anywhere between $50 and $200, depending on the style and type of girth. You may find that you need to buy 2 different girths, depending on if your horse's shape changes in the season, especially those winter months. Okay, other items that you may need for your horse. So because we live in Canada, we experience all different kinds of weather. And blanketing your horse is a good idea just to keep them happy and warm through all of Canada's crazy weather. So the types of blankets that you'll most often need are rain sheet, mid-weight blanket, a winter blanket, stable sheet, and a cooler sheet. And typically you'll start with a upfront cost of buying all these blankets, and then you can expect little fees in between if you have to make repairs to your blanket or buy a new blanket because your horse outgrew the blanket, something like that. It's really important that you buy good quality, good fitting blankets, so that way your horse isn't getting any rubs from the blanket, or the blanket is not fitting the horse correctly and he's able to lose it in the field. Other accessories that you'll need for your horse is halters, and lots of them, in case your horse loses his halter in the field. Some people like to have halters that they'll use at the barn, and then a nice halter for when they go out showing or to clinics. And then other little accessories for your horse, things such as lead ropes, brushes, fly sprays, show sheens, and other horse care products. So it's nice to have a little stock of some horse care products and little simple first aid things for your horse, so you can keep them looking nice and clean and fancy. And then if they come in with any types of little cuts or things like that, you have care products such as vet wrap and certain gauzes and ointments that you can apply. Okay, so lessons and horse shows. So even though you own your own horse, it's still super important and recommended that you continue taking lessons with a coach. So the cost of lessons are going to be dependent on who your coach is and where you're taking lessons. So the average cost can be from anywhere from $50 to $100 an hour. And sometimes lessons are not included in your boarding price, so that may be an added cost. And again, it's really important to take lessons with your coach just so they can help you with your new horse and continue to help you grow as a rider and develop your partnership with your horse. Horse shows. So horse shows are super fun to go to with your horse. You can show off all that you've been working on, and going to horse shows comes with a new list of cost. So one of the costs will be for the rider show clothes. So when you go to a show, typically you're going to need a show jacket, show shirt, nice riding breeches, boots, typically tall boots, gloves, that sort of thing. And then you'll also have your entry fees. So again, depending on the type of show that you're going to, the amount of classes you're going to be taking, that will change the cost of your entry fees. And then if you are traveling to a horse show or you're having your horse and you need your horse to stay overnight, you're going to incur stabling costs. If your coach is coming with you to the show, you'll have some coaching fees. And again, it's really important that, especially if you're new to showing, that you have your coach come with you to the show. And then if you don't own your own truck and trailer, you'll need to either pay your coach to take you to the show or hire a professional shipper to take you to the show. Certain show circuits require specific memberships. So just make sure you have done your research prior to entering to make sure that you have the proper memberships required for that show. And all the show circuits are pretty good at having all that stuff on their website, and it's really easy to find and navigate. Okay, so part boarding and leasing your horse. And these are great options if you're not quite ready yet for the full responsibility of horse ownership. So we'll talk about part boarding first. Part boarding is usually where you pay a monthly fee to either a facility or the horse's owner, and you are not responsible for any of the costs such as boarding or vet bills or farrier bills. So an example of a part board agreement could be you pay a fee of $425 a month. And with that, you'll get 2 rides where you'll get to just come and practice on the horse, and then 1 lesson with a coach. And again, the price of the part board will change depending on how many rides you're getting, how many lessons, that kind of thing. Part board is a really great place to start, especially if you're interested in showing. It really gets you working with that one horse and allows you to kind of get in some more riding time. Leasing a horse. So leasing a horse is a great idea, I think personally, to give you the horse ownership feel, in the sense that you'll be responsible most often for the cost of boarding the horse somewhere, some or all vet and farrier costs. And there's different types of lease agreements. You could possibly have a free lease agreement where you don't actually pay a fee to have the horse with you. You'll just be responsible for the board or vet and or farrier or some other financial cost there. Another agreement situation may be a paid lease. So each year that you have the horse, you'll need to pay a sum of money, again, to that horse's owner or facility to have the horse with you. And then you still would have the board costs and other possible costs that go along with having the horse with you. So thank you very much for your time today. I hope you have learned some things and what you can expect with first-time horse ownership. Buying your first horse can be overwhelming for sure, but it's really important just to do your research and figuring out your monthly costs and yearly costs of owning a horse. Like I mentioned before, involving your coach in the process is super important and helpful. They're going to be able to help you find that horse that's correctly suited for you. And another thing that you can do is talk to other horse owners, get their experience, find out what's worked for them, what hasn't worked for them, because that can sometimes be really helpful. And owning a horse is super rewarding. There's nothing like building that bond and partnership and working towards reaching goals with that horse. At the end of this presentation, there'll also be a Word document with all the notes from today. So you have something to refer back to if you are interested in owning a horse someday. So again, thank you very much for listening, and I hope I have been able to teach you something today. Thank you.